the merits of the case, but send it back to a lower court for now. Now, big if that winds up mirroring the actual opinion, it avoids a ruling on a major hot topic in an election year, but gives the Biden administration a temporary win on procedural grounds because it will broaden access to emergency abortion, at least in the short term.
Fox's Shannon Bream. The Supreme Court has sided with the Biden administration in a dispute with Republican-led states over how far the government can go to combat controversial social media posts on topics including COVID-19. The justices threw out a lower court ruling that favored Louisiana, Mississippi, and others in their claims that Democrats leaned on social media platforms to squash conservative viewpoints. Just over 24 hours until the CNN presidential debate with surrogates for President Biden and former President Trump making campaign stops in Georgia. Former President Trump called into an Atlanta barbershop.
Well, as you know, I cut taxes and regulations more than any other president. We had the biggest tax cut, bigger even than the Reagan tax cuts, and I also cut regulations far more than any other president.
Florida Republican Byron Donalds moderated the event. He's believed to be on the short list for Trump's vice presidential pick. Biden campaign surrogate spoke at Georgia's state capitol, where former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger announced he's endorsing President Biden. The president's been prepping for the debate at Camp David this week. Tune in to Fox News Democracy 24 special coverage of the CNN presidential debate simulcast tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. Syrian state media says Israel has launched an air attack targeting a number of sites in the southern region, killing at least 2. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Another approval. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. A plan for a new soccer stadium and a possible MLS franchise was approved by city planners Wednesday afternoon. It was the last thing that needed to happen before sending the proposal to state lawmakers, although not everyone is for the plan.
Indianapolis neither wants nor needs a Major League Soccer franchise or the shiny new stadium it demands.
Martin Augustino, who lives in Indianapolis. Deputy Mayor Dan Parker says the city needs top-level soccer to keep up with its reputation of hosting top-level sporting events. State police tried pulling over a truck in Delaware County Tuesday. They say the driver did not stop. The truck eventually crashed. 4 people got out and ran. Police caught up with them. They later found weed, what they believed to be fentanyl pills, and a Glock inside the trunk. One of the 4 people was a kid and released back to its parents. The other 3 were arrested on several charges. In 49 states, it's just basketball. Well, a new study has Indiana not at the top for hoops in the USA. Here's what's Woodward.
The experts at Fadeaway World analyzed multiple factors to create the ultimate basketball ranking to determine the best states for hoops. They looked at the birthplaces of NBA and WNBA players, Hall of Fame inductees, the number of NBA, WNBA, G League, and NCAA Division I teams, and the number of champions each state produced. And by their calculations, Indiana ranks the 5th best state for basketball. California topped the list, followed by Texas, while New York is 3rd. Illinois placed 4th, Michigan 6th, and Kentucky was 15th.
On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Skies will clear out tonight as we're dry with lows in the low 60s. Thursday will be the best weather day of the week with lots of sunshine and highs near normal in the low 80s with low humidity values. Thursday will be a very nice day overall. I'm Wish TV Storm Track meteorologist Stephen Deanna for 93 WIBC.
If you can't get a good night's sleep, let me ask you, are you breathing well? Because if you're snoring or waking up each night with a stuffed up nose, or frustrated with your CPAP mask, the root of your sleep problem lies in your breathing triangle. And if any one of those passages isn't working, you won't sleep well. And there's no mattress, pill, or other gimmick that can fix that. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. A recipe for a good night's sleep starts with an open airway. Now, there are devices that can help solve snoring or sleep apnea problems. If you walk into a sleep center, know you'll walk out with a CPAP. And you might find other options elsewhere. But the simple truth is, if your nose doesn't work properly, no device will help. Only at Advent will you find every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution, along with a world-class team that can get your nose working properly again.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Will you be the one? This summer, Shepherd Community will spend hundreds of hours with 200 kids, learning, adventuring, and experiencing life-transforming relationships. Help us make a difference for one child. For just $28, you can impact a child for one day at Shepherd. One moment, one relationship can make a difference in the life of a child. You can be the one. Visit shepherdcommunity.org/be-the-one to give today. That's shepherdcommunity.org/be-the-one.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today. Today.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey. The Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Well, this evening, the Democrats' coalition, that is the intersectional coalition that they have spent the last couple of decades building, in which, as President Obama organized at the end of his first term, was this idea that there are all of these oppressed peoples around the country, and they're so beaten down, and it's so hard and terrible if, you're an individual who's not the majority group in this country, that we need a coalition to demand rights and freedoms and liberate ourselves from this systemic injustice. And then the country spent the next couple of decades learning that, a decade and a half of actually everyone already has the same rights and freedoms. And it turns out that a lot of people just really want to be victims. And at the end of Trump's first term, we decided to hook up a couple of car batteries to Joseph R. Biden and keep him alive for a few more years. And as he ran for president, he informed the country that he could run as the centrist candidate who would unite the country, and he would be everybody's president while also maintaining that Barack Obama coalition of Democrats. So you had the 90s Labor Clintonian Democrats and the more moderates who supported Joe Biden because he ran as a centrist. And then you had the more radical elements that ended up supporting Joe Biden because he effected a lot of really far to the left policy. And this coalition was fragile enough as it is because, Joe Biden is ancient and he really doesn't have a sure foundation of being for any specific policy other than himself. And that has absolutely crippled any possible chance that his administration could have to deal with very serious problems. So we're going to talk a little bit about some breaking news, which would be an attempted military coup in the South American nation of Bolivia. That'll be coming up later in the show. We're going to put that off to the side just for a few minutes because we need to discuss Jocelyn Nungare. Jocelyn Nungare was a 12-year-old girl in Texas whom two Venezuelan illegal immigrants lured under a bridge, took off her clothes, and then sexually assaulted her for 2 hours. The men tied her hands behind her back, and after they were done with her, they choked her and dumped her body in a bayou. One of these two Venezuelan illegal immigrants, Franklin Jose Peña Ramos, then allegedly asked his employer for extra money to leave town. Peña Ramos crossed through President Biden's open border at El Paso last month. By the way, both Peña Ramos and Johan Jose Rangel are set to appear in immigration court this August. And this is yet another in the latest line of horrific crimes that are committed by illegal immigrants, many of whom cross the border and are given aid and free rides and possibly parole, just kind of shuttled on through by Border Patrol at the request of Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas of the Department of Homeland Security, as well as from the top of the Biden administration. And this is extremely unpopular. It's unpopular in the Sun Belt, which is one of the swing state regions that Biden really needs to win in 2024. And it's also unpopular in the rest of the country because it turns out that in today's day and age, in which two cities on the opposite ends of the border, those being Chicago, very far away from the border, as well as New York City, very far away from the border, in their large quest to be sanctuary cities facilitated the idea that you can travel the United States as an illegal immigrant, and wherever you end up, people are going to take care of you and you can leech off the system. And this mess has enraged Americans. Again, we've talked about this before, that illegal immigration has topped the economy in some polls as the number one issues that Americans are considering. And every one of these violent, horrific crimes that occurs, whether it's a college nursing student, or whether it's a little girl like this, or whether it's a kidnapping case from Indiana to Missouri, or whether it's beating a cop up in New York City, no matter the instance, Americans collectively share outrage because this person who committed the crime was not supposed to be here in the first place. And this is a result of the Biden administration on day one revoking all of President Trump's border executive orders and policies and bragging about it, releasing a fact sheet. And Jen Psaki went out in front of the press corps and bragged about how they were rescinding all of Trump's immigration and border policies, and the xenophobic era of Trump is finally over, blah, blah, blah. And then you had Alejandro Mayorkas, who spent several years gloating about all of these things. And now it turns out, when Americans are ready to hold someone accountable for what is the result of reversing those policies, it looks like Democrat officials are instead trying to use the situation to blame Trump again. Only that's not flying. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo faced some serious criticism today by a reporter right at the outset when she tried to play this card.
It hurts even more that they're being used as pawns in this fight over immigration that doesn't even exist because Biden and McConnell agree. It's just that Trump won't let them move it forward.
All due respect, Judge, you said this issue shouldn't be politicized, but by pointing the finger at former President Trump and Republicans in Congress, aren't you politicizing it?
I think I answered the questions.
I am directly politicizing the issue. That's right. The pearl clutching isn't going to work anymore because here's the dirty secret. Biden is the president. He is the president. And instead of passing some kind of an immigration compromise with Republicans, they wanted to stuff it full of a bunch of things, including border policy that just amounted to getting more buses and Border Patrol agents to ferry even more migrants to court cases, instead of, shutting the border. And it turns out that the country knows that because we have screens and the internet, and we've watched this unfolding live for the last several months as Governor Greg Abbott tried to shut down the border with Operation Lone Star, and President Biden then sued Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. We all saw that occurring. And then President Biden tries to come forward and say, well, actually, here's a little bit of an asylum relief package sort of a situation. And the Democrats in Congress don't know what to do at this point. They have no idea what to do because voters want them to be accountable for the policies that they have advocated for in the open border situation, like squad members have been ought to do over the last several years. And they genuinely don't know what, so they're just breaking down in front of the slightest reporter and saying, I don't know anybody who's been killed by anything. They get out the horse blinders. Here is Representative Summer Lee doing just that.
I'll ask you quickly about the 12-year-old girl in Houston that was tortured.
I'm strangers. I don't even know who you are, and I don't know who she is. I live in Pittsburgh.
Okay, but there was a child who was killed at the...
I don't know anything about it.
You don't know about the child that was killed by illegal immigrants?
First of all, that's the saddest, most pathetic excuse for not providing a comment. All you gotta do is say no comment. Again, would it be super popular? No, you should condemn crime when it happens. That's not exactly difficult. You know what? Murder is bad. Bold statements only here on the show. But to say, I have no idea who you're talking about. I live in Pittsburgh. What an interesting thing to say. It's also quite curious that Summer Lee would be talking about not speaking on events that have nothing to do with her district, considering that she regularly attends pro-Gaza Palestine dinners and advocates half of her Twitter page is about lambasting the Israeli government. I don't know if you guys know this, but Pittsburgh, not exactly next to Tel Aviv. So, as far as that is concerned, the Biden administration is trying so desperately to claim victory while at the same time completely staying away from all of the recent illegal immigration butchery around the country. Here's Mayorkas claiming that the Biden administration is responsible for some magical 40% reduction in illegal immigration since Biden's amazing executive order.
But politics got in the way. The president took action. The border security steps we have taken over the past 18 months are bringing order.
So I love the strategy of voters just don't understand. People are mad at Biden and they're wrong. Yeah, tell voters that they're wrong for being upset with policy. That is always the most stellar and solid of moves. But he made a stellar point there. After all, his policy effectuated some serious change, except that was fact-checked pretty much immediately. So Stephen Miller over at American First Legal points out that President Biden's port of entry illegal immigration importation through that famous phone app, that the ISIS-connected members from Tajikistan used, as well as Biden Air for rapid release into the United States. Oh, those illegal immigration numbers, see, they're excluded from the illegal immigration statistics. So if you just pick and choose what statistics you want to use, it's like the Biden administration reporting on crime in inner cities. If you exclude Los Angeles and New York, the numbers go down. Gee, what a shocking surprise. Amazing stuff. By the way, here's Mayorkas lying, in case you were, considering taking him at his word. Here's Mayorkas lying just a little bit ago about how secure the border was.
Mr. Secretary, the flows of people across the border have caused the president a huge amount of political trouble. If this executive order has worked as well as you're saying it's worked this morning, why not just do it a year and a half ago and save the Democrats all the kind of pushback they've had on the border?
Well, let's remember the chronology here. On day one of the president's administration, he presented Congress with the legislative proposal to fix our immigration system. Up until May of last year, Title 42, the public health order, was in place that prevented people from entering the United States, with some exceptions. It provided the government with...
No, it did not close the border. I'm sorry. It just didn't. There's no evidence of that. 10 million people crossed the border while Biden was in office. Title 42 notwithstanding. I'm sorry. Those are called numbers and statistics, and we actually do have a rough tally. Up next, we're going to be talking about what to expect at this debate, because this is going to be one of the key subjects that comes up. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
7 teenagers involved in a crash slammed into a home. Strong storms were moving through the area.
93 WIBC.
The right to use an abortion pill protected by the Supreme Court.
No legal standing to challenge the Food and Drug Administration.
Another news update is minutes away.
We do have a double standard, and our system of justice is broken.
IU Health
eliminating non-compete clauses for physicians practicing primary care.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
If you're struggling with weight and frustrated with dieting each and every year, Mark Patrick Seminars can help.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
What are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick Seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Seminar Thursday, July 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 5:30, stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, July 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites Indianapolis Northeast in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m., stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration's 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Tired of using your Indy Summer to paint year after year? Then do what Deanna did. She called Rhino Shield.
I was noticing some cracks and the paint's faded. I was like, okay, I think I should get my house painted. So my neighbor had a Rhino Shield placard in the yard. And after they were finished, I was just, wow. With the warranty and everything, it just seemed silly not to go that route.
The ceramic coating of Rhino Shield is specifically formulated for our climate.
So the Rhino Shield crew came out. Nothing was damaged in the process. I was very happy. They just didn't leave a mess. You couldn't even tell they were there. And the house looked so different. It just looked like a new home.
Backed by a 25-year transferable warranty. And right now, you can have that protection for 10% off the regular price.
Rhino Shield, I think it increases the value and the curb appeal of your home. Definitely worth it.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou, a term provider, 800-444-9336. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-9336. That's 800-444-9336 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-444-9336.
Gilbert worked in retail and restaurant management for 14 years. It was time for a change.
I recognized where I was at was vulnerable to the whims of the economy.
Then he heard about My Computer Career. Gilbert went for it.
In as little as 7 months, I got all of my certifications at a fraction of a cost for college.
He became an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
I can work from anywhere. I have more time for my family as well.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
First Financial Bank. Get 4.6% APY on money market accounts and high rates on CDs. Stop into your local First Financial Bank to start growing your money today. What are you waiting for? It's easy. Take advantage of our great rates. APY equals annual percentage yield. $25,000 minimum deposit required for money market. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC. Visit bankatfirst.com for details.
First! Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun. Brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I know that you guys have been hit with pre-debate coverage all last week, all this week. Everyone's looking forward to the debate. I've had the opportunity to hop on a couple of different shows around the country because I have spent the last couple of weeks of my time digging through prior debates, looking at Biden's performance, Trump's performance, how both of them have performed in primary debates within their own parties, looking at some statistical models, as well as how we are kind of favoring in this electoral process with 2 incumbents essentially facing off against each other, which has not been a thing since back in Grover Cleveland's day. And no, I'm not talking about the Grover from Sesame Street. The first thing that you need to consider is that many of the statisticians on the left-wing side of the aisle are already starting to move away from the importance of this debate. Already. So Nate Silver over at 538, which was an ABC News kind of electoral tracking project. Nate kind of acts as a bellwether for a lot of left-wing feeling in the very, very thin middle ground between the young progressive kind of Democrat socialist movement, as well as the other side of that group, which would be the kind of 90s labor Democrats, the very last of that old guard, the corporatist Democrats, you might call them. And he summed up in a very interesting article today over on his Silver Bulletin, which is where he updates his electoral model and predictions, that at this point, either Biden or Trump could easily win, but the odds are very much in the ex-president's favor. And he goes on through this entire article to outline that basically Americans have made up their mind at this point, and there is just no appeal for undecided voters, nor for moderate Democrats to take the time and effort to come vote for Biden. There's this weird idea in the media that what you really need to see in the debate tomorrow night is that Donald Trump's going to come out there and he's going to scream and shout and he's going to make a fool of himself and he's going to say dumb things and he's going to cut Biden off and Biden's just going to sit there like Jim in The Office and he's just going to look at the camera and then that's going to be the debate and that's going to convince everyone that Trump is a big nutcase and everyone's going to come out to vote against Trump and oh, it's going to be wonderful. That'll finally save it. No. This is why the Democrat coalition is hanging by a thread. That's why. Because we are basically whistling past the graveyard as a political media establishment, let's say, and pretending that if Biden just kind of, if like a miracle happens, if Moses comes down again, if the Christ actually granted the rich man's wish back in the New Testament and actually sent Moses and Elijah, the prophets, to tell everyone about what's going on. If Moses came back down and smacked Biden around with the 10 Commandments sapphire tablets, the kind that are now allowed to be posted in Louisiana schools, and that somehow knocked Biden into the clear blue of mental lucidity, that would cure the election woes. You can't keep trusting in these miracle situations because there are very, very, very few people that are waiting to see tomorrow evening to make up their mind. There are likely a few who are looking to see if Trump kind of keeps it more together than the first debate in the 2020 election cycle, at least in the general presidential debates. Whereas for President Biden, a lot of people are going to see if he's really, really high on stimulants, or if he actually answers a certain series of questions. It does not help in any way, shape, or form that the moderators for tomorrow night's debate, as we've already talked about pretty extensively, are Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who despise Trump, who have lambasted him time and time again on the network. Dana Bash takes any time that she's talking about Joe Biden to stick her nose directly between his legs and take a deep whiff of whatever's just come out of him. At the State of the Union address, whether she's talking about him in any kind of a debate scenario, whether she's a panelist on another show, she cannot get enough of him. And so what you're going to see tomorrow night is a very weird kind of pseudo-debate, pseudo-statement-by-statement panel show. And I just don't think that's going to move the needle like everyone thinks it is. And here's how you predict the debate. So let's talk about some big predictions. So Hillary Clinton, who you may remember from looking like a horse, and also being the most unlikable person in American political history until Jamal Bowman stepped onto the scene, who we'll be talking about next. She has decided that the debate is going to be so pointless that really nobody should watch it. And that basically once you get in a room with Trump and he starts stalking you and being all bravado and toxically masculine, that there's no chance really for Biden, which is just a rough thing to hear. I mean, man, Hillary Clinton has just delivered the death knell to some Democrat candidates recently. That's a large oof. But what can you really expect? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. We're going to see a little bit of all sides of the candidates. You're going to see a little bit of coherent Biden. You're going to see a little bit of Biden where he's completely lost, doesn't know where he is, muddles his words, that kind of a thing. You're going to see a little bit of the cool, sarcastic Trump, who just kind of sits back and kind of makes fun of Biden. You're probably going to see some of that leadership, let's go do it Trump. And then you're probably going to see a little bit of the boisterous, oh, I wish he hadn't said that Trump. You're going to see all of those things likely during the debate. And media outlets on the left and the right, they're going to cherry pick which of those scenes they do and don't like. And then they're going to announce that they won the debate. I guarantee it. At the end of tomorrow evening, RNC Research is going to tweet out that Trump won the debate. The Biden-Harris campaign Twitter account, it's going to tweet out that Biden won the debate. You knew that already. Unless the stimulants actually do take out and we have a very serious national medical emergency scandal on our hands tomorrow evening, which also could happen. But at the present time, if you're looking to see what realistically happens in a debate like this, the only reason this debate has any kind of fanfare at all is because no one knows, A, if Trump is going to be able to basically counteract all of the different things that are against him in this particular debate. The CNN rules, the very strange series of questions that are probably going to have nothing to do with this presidential race, like January 6th in 2020, as well as Trump's normal tendency to want to work off of the audience. Those things aren't going to be present. However, it appears, at least at this moment, that there is some kind of a plan in place. It's more of an expectation of entertainment than it is a decision point for this election. And that's really what you need to know. A lot of people are going to tune in tomorrow evening to watch circus. They're really not going to be tuning in to make a decision on the presidential election. We've said this before. Everything's already baked into the cake. There is not a single person who has the ability to speak English who does not know what they think about both Joseph R. Biden and Donald J. Trump. Well, speaking of Joseph R. Biden and his Democrat coalition, Jamal Bowman suffered a very serious defeat yesterday evening, and we are going to talk about that with Rebecca Downs from Town Hall. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
From marshmallow festivals to fireworks on the shore, no matter where you're headed this summer, Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. During Hubler's Freedom to Drive, shop any of our 12 locations and choose from Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. Over 2,000 vehicles. All makes, all models, certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report.
'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
No matter where you're headed this summer, Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. During our Freedom to Drive, visit drivehubler.com or any of our 12 locations.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here, letting you know that when you need plumbing help, call who I call, my friends at Hope Plumbing. Not only are they experts in their field who respect the true value of customer service, they also love giving back to this community, which is evident in their referral program. If you refer a friend, Hope Plumbing will give you a $50 gift card to a local restaurant. Great plumbing and supporting local restaurants. What more could you ask for? Visit hopeplumbing.com or give them a call at 641-HOPE.
Hey, what's up? Hammer here. After a full day of working with Nigel, I could imagine nothing better than going home and getting lazy in a Lazy Boy from Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Thompson Furniture in Columbus guarantees the lowest price and free delivery within 75 miles of Columbus and interest-free financing on all Lazy Boy furniture.
Hey, it's Nigel. Right now, Thompson's is having a Lazy Boy 50% off sale. The only place to buy your Lazy Boy furniture is Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Long live the lazy.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Up to 50% off on all of our windows and doors, plus 12 months, no payments, no interest. It's our great granddaddy of a sale.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. The Democrat primary in New York and Utah were very recent, and they told some very telling trends. And whenever we talk about the squad, their successes, their failures, the embarrassments that we all can laugh at, we go to Rebecca Downs over at townhall.com. Not your usual segment, but thanks for calling in as we dig into this breaking stuff, Rebecca.
My pleasure.
So,
yeah, my pleasure. This is, go ahead, yes.
Let's dive right in here. I don't want to waste any time. There's so much to dig into. Jamal Bowman lost to this Latimer guy. Tell me, what was the big linchpin that just tore Bowman to shreds? Because he got obliterated in this primary.
He did. So what I was going to say is that it's breaking news, of course, but in a way it's not surprising. The final tally, it looks like right now, is 58.4% for George Latimer, and then Jamal Bowman got about 41% of the vote, 41.6% of the vote. And he was really marred throughout this race, but also his time as a congressman, for his anti-Israel views. So he's a member of the anti-Israel squad, but what you and I have talked about before that he's had to apologize for repeatedly is that last November, he actually claimed that it was, quote-unquote, propaganda and, quote-unquote, a lie to say that Israeli women had been raped as part of that October 7th attack perpetrated by Hamas terrorists. And, this was in mid-November. We already knew that those stories were true, unfortunately. The testimonies that we were hearing, there were reports. We knew that the rapes had occurred, and he had to do a bunch of cleanup for that. And he had to keep doing that up until last week, I believe.
And I think that one of the best things about this entire situation is that the rest of the squad stood behind him. Of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was supporting him. She went and did that very weird mom, dance routine from, a really cringy Vine in 2016. She got out there and did a big dance and scream rap for him. And the rest of the squad members, they got involved and said, oh, how important it was that we fight against capitalism and we support Jamal Bowman and support black candidates and things like that. And then you had Bernie Sanders cut an ad because, when you're thinking of moderate Democrats who want to appeal to a broad base, you think Bernie Sanders. The best part, the best, most beautiful piece of this was that Hakeem Jeffries gave him $5,000 for his whole campaign. This is supposed to be the next Nancy Pelosi, right? The Democrats are already starting to abandon these squad members. Why?
Oh, yeah. Because it doesn't help the Democratic coalition, right? But the Democrats want to appeal to America overall. They have to cut loose members like Jamal Bowman. Cori Bush is likely going to lose her primary as well. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she may have a better chance. She won her primary last night because she's more well-liked in her very, very liberal district. But Jamal Bowman's district, it's home to a lot of Jewish voters who really were not happy with how he was framing his candidacy. He played the victim quite a lot. One of the framings of this race, especially if you check out the chatter on social media and how people are reacting to it, is, oh, how evil AIPAC is, and they're a foreign influencer in election. You should see some of the posts out there that people are coming up with, and that this is probably my favorite part, that the primary process, especially AIPAC's role involved, is a so-called core threat to democracy, which, the primary process is the democratic process in action. It's a beautiful thing. Jamal Bowman himself won in 2020 when he unseated a Democratic incumbent. So, the rules for thee but not for me is kind of how I see it.
Right.
It's just, it's crazy talk here.
We're on with Rebecca Downs over at townhall.com, kind of going over some of the weird coalition split that seems to be occurring. This grand coalition of the Democrat Party is just falling apart right in the midst of this critical time in the Democratic National Convention looming on the horizon in August, as well as the presidential election in November. And what's great is that they don't even know how to act that Bowman's out of the race now, these being the other members of the squad, because whereas before, Democrats clearly felt like they had to kind of gather around the youths and tolerate them, now there's an awkwardness because the mood is shifting. This is what I want to get your opinion on. So AOC tweets this like a dirge funeral service post for him and says, Jamal Bowman, son of a single mother, grew up in public housing, dedicated his life to teaching, became a principal, founded a prize school, elected as the first black congressman for NY16, never took a dime in corporate money. You know, just a lot of teacher union money, but let's not talk about that. She calls him a true public servant. Oh, it's just so inspiring. She tags the wrong account. She tags...
I thought that was hilarious.
Ordinary girl, Bodic 74. Knows him so well, she can't even tag his account correctly.
So this account is located in Germany and hasn't posted since August 2012. They're only following 22 accounts. I noticed that their follower account has doubled since this post went out, since they now have 120 followers. She meant to tag Jamal Bowman NY. But, you know, when you're tagging your supposedly good friend who she did all these crazy antics for, she might want to double check that she gets the account right. I noticed that her other squad members, they at least got the account right, and they also made their post much earlier in the day. So, you know, I don't know what's going on with her. She's too hopped up maybe on whatever she had last weekend.
I think the biggest tell here is that I know there's a lot of focus on the squad members' take on the Israeli-Hamas war and that's really what drove it out. There are also a lot of other policy differences that played a serious central role, and that a lot of Democrats around the country are indeed tiring of the constant laments about capitalism and how the United States is a really terrible place. And Latimer came out, most of his campaign messaging was about, again, the kind of corporatist Democrat 90s labor style of policy, and still a little more progressive than the average Democrat, say, out of Kansas. But at least in his campaigning, there has to be a moment where you sit back and say, if you really do want to put your candidate in Congress, right? If you want to put your person forward, then you're going to have to ensure that the Looney Tunes day in the spotlight is over. And that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, his time has passed. Bowman's time has passed. George Latimer, he's never lost a race. He is, I know people who are familiar with the campaign. He is very well known. He's loved in the area. He's, you know, kind of a local boy. He and I actually both went to Fordham, so that's a cool connection in the Bronx. So it wasn't also just that Bowman was bad for the district. It's that Latimer was considered very good for the district as well. And, you know, the people of that district have spoken. So I'm so tired about hearing about how this is bad for democracy because they don't understand how PACs work. AIPAC is a pro-Israel group. They spend money on candidates who will advance pro-Israel values.
And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's because some lobbying group spent a couple of extra bucks that Bowman ended up losing. That's not how it works. Teachers union funded candidates win elections, they lose elections. NRA funded candidates win elections, they lose elections. PAC donor recipients do not change their views most often based on what PAC money they're getting. PACs seek out candidates whose views that they like, and then they fund those candidates. How is this some kind of a crazy comment? I don't understand why this is so wild.
They live in their victim mentality. I really think that's what it is. That's why Bowman was talking about, I'm an outspoken black man. Okay, but that's not why, you know, AIPAC was targeting. AIPAC, they are a bipartisan group, which Bowman and Bush and the rest of them can't handle. They fund pro-Israel Democrats and pro-Israel Republicans. They funded Hakeem Jeffries, you know, who's supposedly Bowman's good friend as well.
Right. Well, I think that as we look forward to this, again, election in November, it's very interesting now to see which squad members are going to be around. Again, kind of looking over at Cori Bush and her tumor healing ways or whatever. Rebecca Downs from townhall.com. We'll check in with you next week on some good old-fashioned squad nonsense.
Thank you. God bless you.
We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and I'm a big fan of Zero Res because their platinum cleaning systems are truly the best you can find. If you've been waiting for the deal from Zero Res, it's here, it's now. 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $119. Wow! Those Zero Res systems will safely and effectively remove all the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and pollen and nasty bacteria in your carpets and floors. The reason I know this is because of the patented ZR Water difference. ZR Water uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. That's why Zero Res is my go-to carpet cleaning company, because I know they can really get rid of all of the uglies. Now mention WIBC and get the June bonus of 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $119, which is the lowest offer I've seen to Zero Resify your home. Don't miss this one. Call 317-388-5141. Book things online at ZeroResIndy.com.
The search for the temporary fix. It's led you back there again, in the pharmacy aisle, looking for the new and improved pill or spray that will clear up your stuffy nose. And you'll give it a try because at least it helps you breathe, right? Yeah, it does. And it may work, but it's hurting you more than it's helping. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula with Advent, where we've pioneered simple solutions to nasal breathing problems without the pain and inconvenience of surgery. In-office procedures like balloon sinuplasty require 0 surgical cuts, little to no downtime, and can have you breathing better in less than 30 minutes. There are few, if any, practices that have been performing the balloon sinuplasty procedure longer than Advent. That's why we're a global destination for those living with nasal breathing problems. Visit AdventKnows.com to see if you're a candidate for balloon sinuplasty, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today.
Want to explore using Mitsubishi electric ductless mini splits to heat and cool your home or business? Learn more at absolutecomfort.org. That's absolutecomfort.org.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose. There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
I gotta be very transparent with you guys. I saw the last segment of today's show going elsewhere entirely. Allison, are you out there in the wide radio world?
Hello, hello.
So you were producing for Hammer and Nigel earlier today, and you remember they were asking me about this milk is racist study that had just come out. I was going to do a whole segment. We're going to talk about the various ways that taxpayer money around the world is being wasted to fund stupid things like a milk is racist study. And then I saw something that drew my attention with such immediacy, and it's breaking news. So I need to ask you a very critical and important question here. We're gonna bring you into the debate. All right. Have you ever made plans and then followed through on those plans for like 5 minutes and then decided you were having none of it and just dropped everything and canceled it?
Yes.
You ever been getting ready for an event and you get the, like, you don't really want to go, and like right as you're about to leave, you get that text that says, sorry, whatever we're doing, it's canceled, and you're just like, oh, thank God. And you just like go back to whatever it was you were doing. Oh, it's amazing.
Yes, that is the best feeling.
That happened in Bolivia today. And I mean that happened in Bolivia because there was an attempted military coup in Bolivia that lasted about 2 hours. And that sounds like I'm making a joke. No, this actually happened. So, according to the Associated Press, 3 hours ago, Bolivian president warns of, quote, irregular movement, quote, of troops in the capital, raising fears of a possible coup. 2 hours ago, armored vehicles are shown on Bolivian state television ramming through the doors of the government palace as a top official asks Bolivians, as Bolivian citizens, to defend democracy. 1 hour ago, quote, breaking, troops and armored vehicles start pulling back from Bolivia's presidential palace after the attempted coup, and the coup had failed. So there's a lot of stuff that is going on, but I'm going to try and break it down for those of you out there who wonder just what on God's green earth is going on the landlocked South American country. So, General Juan Jose Zúñiga decided he was really tired of the Bolivian president, and so what he would do is launch a military coup. Cool. And so he gets the soldiers together, and he gets the armed military together, and he orders them to like break down the military doors and take over the government. The funny thing was, he didn't actually tell the soldiers why they were assaulting the capital. Apparently, soldiers on the ground thought that it was a counterterrorism operation, that they were going in to restore order after some kind of a riot. They had no idea that this military general was having some kind of a coup, because there haven't been any calls for a coup. Like, there's not even any dissatisfaction in the military. And I don't know if you know anything about military coups, Allison, but usually to have a military coup, the people in the military have to want the change. Right? You're going to fight in some kind of a coup, some kind of an insurrection. You kind of got to want to do the insurrection. So this guy launches the coup, and then the president of Bolivia and a few senior officials basically ask the Bolivian people to kind of rally, you head out there, start protesting, and as soon as the civilians run out and start having conversations with people in the Bolivian military about what's going on, the soldiers look at each other and come to the conclusion that this is really stupid. And doesn't really make... I don't have anything against the government. Do you have anything against the government? No. Do you have anything against the Bolivian president? No, I think he's kind of a stand-up essay, you know? And so then the army kind of leaves, and all of a sudden, it's just like a Dr. Doofenshmirtz plot from Phineas and Ferb. He's like, Perry the Platypus, behold, my takeover Bolivia, Nator. Like, it doesn't go well, because the military's just like, no, not interested. And so then, after Louis Acre, the president, basically holds a press conference that the coup is over, the leader of the coup d'etat, he basically starts fleeing the capital of Bolivia, La Paz, and there's no one who even wants to take him out. So it's, what do you do? If you just failed at a coup, what do you call an Uber? At that point, do you choose between Uber and Lyft? Do you hop on a Lime scooter and say, I'll be back again one day, Perry the Platypus? I don't know what he was expecting. But if you're going to plan some kind of a coup, let's say you and your friends, you're like, you know what, let's take over a South American government. It's an American tradition. You know, I mean, come on, it's something Americans love. Nothing like toppling a South American or Central American government any old day of the week. You might want to tell a few people in the country that you're planning on toppling. You ever seen Meet the Robinsons? It's an animated Disney movie, Allison.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so there's the villain, and he has these plans, and he like mind controls a T-Rex, and that doesn't work out. And he like mind controls a robot, and that doesn't work out. And he mind controls some frogs, and that doesn't work out. And every time the plan doesn't work out, the person who's being mind controlled tells the villain, well, I'm just really unprepared, and I'm just not really sure how well this plan was thought out. That's the story. Bolivia is doing a live-action remake of Meet the Robinsons. It's fantastic. This is the best. This news story is amazing. You don't get this kind of resolution in sitcoms. They do some kind of a cliffhanger, and then what do they say? They say, come back next week for the exciting conclusion. It's over in 3 hours.
They're basically just uninvited guests that show up at a party, and then they realize, oh, I probably wasn't invited, so then they awkwardly just walk out.
2 hours ago, this is from OS Int Defender. He's an open source intelligence individual over on X who I've had a couple of really great conversations with. He says the new commander of the Bolivian army, General Jose Wilson Sanchez, who was just appointed by President Louis Eckert, because, there's kind of a vacancy in the position, has just ordered for all of the military units currently in the capital of La Paz to return to their bases. Everybody just go home. Make sure you clock out on the way. Tomorrow we're gonna make that a Jeans Thursday in the office. Everyone go home. Just coup's canceled. Sorry. Oh my God.
Nothing to see here, people.
No.
I love how no one was inspired to go after him after all that too. That is the best part of the whole thing.
No, and they did. He has been arrested by special police forces in La Paz, but there was a small stretch of time where it appeared as though nobody cared. And by the way, there was video. He actually did have vehicles ramming through the building. They caused serious damage to buildings in La Paz. He did order the military in, but half the people in the army, again, this is reportedly, it's breaking news, things could change. But according to some of these reports that we are currently looking at, the army had no idea why. He just got into some kind of a weird multicolored Humvee and quickly leaving the area. He didn't even have an escort. He just hops into the nearest Humvee and he just kind of starts scooting away. People are like, where do you think you're going? I just want to tell you.
It's the equivalent of he's behind me, isn't he?
Realistically, seriously. So for all of you aspiring South American dictators out there, hope we've learned a few things this evening. We'll be back tomorrow evening to cover all of the insane antics right before the presidential debate. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.